target selection, just for anyone that's curious, is just by having something in your hand, you're far less likely to be targeted on a run. So even if it's not like a sidekick, just anything is helpful.
Welcome to In Fearless Conversation, a podcast from 261 Fearless, where every discussion is an opportunity to shape the future. I'm your host, Kim Chafee, and together we'll explore any topic that impacts a woman's quality of life, from leadership and personal growth to health and financial security. Join me and discover how a fearless conversation can shape the future you deserve. Everyone, welcome back to In Fearless Conversation. I'm really excited for today's episode because I am joined by two incredible women, Ashley Raymond and Meagan Doyle. Ashley and Meagan are co-founders of a company called Safely, and Safely is dedicated to helping women feel more confident and empowered while running and while navigating everyday life. Today, we get to talk about female runner safety, which is such an important topic. We talk about confidence. We talk about entrepreneurship and their road to building this company. We talk about some personal experiences that changed the way Ashley feels about and thinks about safety while running, and how empowering women with tools and education can help them move through the world more fearlessly. Most importantly, this episode is a reminder that no one can take running away from us. And I love that message so much. It's a great episode. There's a lot in it. And I know you will enjoy listening as much as I enjoyed recording it. So let's get started with Ashley and Meagan. Ashley and Meagan, welcome to In Fearless Conversation. We're super excited to have you both here with us today. Where are you guys calling in from, by the way? Are you in Texas?
We're in Austin, Texas. We're super excited to be here.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, we first met in November in person at the KV Switzer Awards. You two were there. Safely was one of our partners, and we're so grateful to have you on board for that. And we're finally getting around to having this podcast conversation, and I'm super excited for it. Usually on this podcast, when we talk with runners, we like to talk with their running origin story. So I know you're both runners. So can you share a little bit about where you started with running? Did you start as an adult? Did you start as a kid? What did running look like for you?
Two very different stories, so
Okay.
You'll get both. But I started running when I was younger. My mom's a big runner. She's run Boston, she's run New York. And the rule in our house was if you wanted to watch TV, you had to go on a run first. So
Are you serious?
I'm serious. And
That's amazing.
I did not like it. I despised it.
I bet not. Yeah.
To do this, especially as a little kid. And then all of a sudden I found myself really enjoying running. And I was like, this is weird. This is really weird. Why do I like it? And from there, started running a lot more. I would run with my mom a ton. And a few years later, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And I was told by the doctor, the endocrinologist, to stop running, that it was really impacting my blood sugars, and that I should find a new hobby like shopping. And I don't know what was 10-year-old me at the time, because I was a very quiet kid. I looked at my mom and I said, we need to find a new doctor that believes I can keep running in front of this doctor.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was great. I can't imagine my life differently if I hadn't, said that, or if I had just, taken the first opinion of let's stop running and let's start shopping. I mean, I do shop too, but at the time, I just knew that I needed to keep running, and running really can change your life. And so I'm so glad I've been able to run and found a doctor that supports, running with type 1 diabetes. And just ran my first marathon, which we'll talk about a little bit more, but actually had my lowest A1C, which is like the collection of your blood sugars ever. So running the
Wow.
furthest made it better. And I, would like for that first doctor to know that you can
Yeah.
run with type 1 diabetes.
If you're listening, doctor, just know that it's possible. Yeah, that's amazing. We also have had a charity runner who ran both Boston and New York for us, who has type 1 diabetes as well, and that's kind of her thing is showing that you can still do these kinds of things with type 1 diabetes. So that's so cool. That's so cool. Okay, Meagan, what's your story?
Yeah, totally different, but still so Ashley's story is so relevant to my story because I've always hated running my entire life. I was not somebody that enjoyed cardio or anything. I was active, but it wasn't until I got to high school that I started working out on my own. I would go to the gym and things like that. And then I've kept doing that since then. But running was never the thing I wanted to do. I would do like sprints or something on the treadmill just to say that I got some cardio in.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever we were developing out one of our products called the Safely Sidekick, Ashley specifically had a lot of feedback for it as a runner and being able to carry it on runs. And when I was finally holding the device in my hand, when we got it in for the first time, one of the first ideas I had was, well, maybe I should try to go for a run outside with this. And that was the beginning of me exploring running and becoming a runner. And then later on, Ashley had actually got to meet Catherine Switzer at one of the Atlanta runs that she was at and that Safely was at. And Catherine totally convinced Ashley to run Every Woman's Marathon. And then a few days later, Ashley convinced me to run the Every Woman's Marathon. I never ran a race or anything. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. That's what happened. And now thankfully, you either start running and set a goal like that and you either hate it or love it. And thankfully I loved it. So I've been running since.
Oh my goodness. So your first race was a marathon.
Yes.
Okay. She'd never done a 5K or anything like that.
You just jumped straight to the marathon distance. That's incredible. I think that if it's your first marathon, even if it's your first race, that's the one to do it. That's really a great race. So did you run the one then last year in Scottsdale?
Yes.
Awesome. I heard that was a tough race. It was very hot.
I feel like, I guess for me, I don't really know what to compare it to because I don't.
That's true.
I hadn't ran any other races at the time. I have now, but no other marathons. So I feel like it's just going to be tough regardless.
Yeah.
But I ran the Austin half marathon in February. So a few months after that. And there were so many hills. I thought that was harder than the whole marathon.
Really? Okay. Well, and if you live in Texas, it's warm there anyway. So you're used to that kind of heat. So
the heat was not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Okay, so let's talk about Safely because we've got your running origin stories, but what's the origin story for this amazing company that you've built? How did you come up with this idea? What happened to kind of spark your interest in becoming entrepreneurs?
Yeah, we never expected to launch a personal safety brand. That was, never our original life's goal, but it's just unfortunately so needed. And I think everyone can relate to having, different moments in life where you really feel unsafe and you're not sure if you're going to be able to protect yourself. And I had one of those moments while I was running early on in my running story per se. I was followed by 2 men on foot. I ended up calling for help and they were arrested for public intoxication. But in that moment, I really felt like, I don't know what I'm going to do if they catch me. I'm thinking the worst case scenario and why they're arrested for public intoxication and not harassment or something like that is because I didn't stick around to find out, right?
Sure.
I kept running and just trying to create distance and getting away from those 2 men in a relatively safe neighborhood in Houston, Texas. And so that kind of stuck with me. And that was the second time I felt like someone was trying to take running away from me. Running is the most incredible thing, but in moments where a doctor tells you can't do it or you feel scared, it kind of makes you want to stop for a little bit and not keep running. So that stuck with me. Then went off to college at the University of Texas and ended up in a random class project where I met Meagan. And we had to come up with a device or an app to pitch to the class. And we started talking about what was needed and landed on the topic of personal safety because at the time, within about a year of each other, 2 students were murdered on our college campus. And no one goes off to college to experience anything like that. That should never be something that's happening, no matter if you're in college, out of college. It just shouldn't be a thing. But unfortunately, it is. And so from there, we actually launched a different company in college. Ultimately, it didn't work out, but we learned a ton from it. And we're like, okay, we really need to figure out this personal safety thing. We really need to figure out how we can empower people to take charge of their safety, what the right devices look like, all of these different things, and started Safely in 2021.
Wow.
Yeah, we started off and we had pepper spray and stuff first. And then we started teaching people how to use pepper spray with our practice sprays. And we now have a pink skeleton that a lot of people are familiar with that we used as the demo person, but it used to be each other. We would just spray each other. We had a Freddy Krueger. We've gone through a lot of variations. And then all of that led to us finally developing out a sidekick device that has your pepper spray and flashlight and alarm. So it's great for runners. And so that's what we focus on now is through the education aspect, also the empowerment aspect with the tools.
I love that. I love the empowerment aspect. But I want to just back up real quick because something you said caught my interest, which is that you started another company first, but it didn't work out. And that's interesting to me because, one of the things that we talk about is like learning from failure and not being afraid of failure or not being afraid to share that you failed. So what lessons did you take from that first company that you brought to Safely that you kind of used to make it successful?
Yeah, 100%. I think we learned a ton in the first company. And just when you think about failure too, you're absolutely right. Like a lot of people are scared of failure. And that's why you might have an excellent idea in your mind, but you're like, I don't want to do it. I'm scared of failing. But another way to look at it is if you never try, you've almost already failed, right? You're never giving yourself that opportunity to succeed. And on the bright side, your company and what you're trying to launch will always probably be the most important thing to yourself. And if it does fail, no one's going to look at you and say, wow, they're such failures. And if they do, whatever, but they're going to be like,
right. Those are not your people.
Yeah, people. It's like you've never seen a hater at a marathon, right?
Right.
Like it's kind of the same mindset. So it's so important, try something out. You'll learn a ton, especially starting a company. There's so many different hurdles to go through, so many opportunities, different business plans. But I think, trying to launch something in college, we ultimately never fully got a device to the market. Okay. And that's what kind of we had to take lessons and learn from and go back and start over and start freshly and think of how do we put the very best thing, out there on the marketplace. But for anyone that's trying or has an idea, definitely go for it. Don't be scared to fail. And it's always evolving. Business is always evolving. What launching a company looked like back in college versus after college, just things have changed. We ended up shutting down the first company during COVID too. So just very different time than,
Sure.
one in 2021 and 5 years in now, seeing different opportunities and being able to have these how to use events and things like that.
Yeah. You talked about challenges. What are some of the challenges that you've had? I mean, as entrepreneurs, I know that's not easy, right? Like you're starting from scratch, you're creating this whole business, these product lines. What were some of those challenges that you had to overcome? And then I want to talk to you about what's the best thing about doing what you do.
Well, for starters, at Safely, none of us are engineers. We all come from business backgrounds. We've never, made a product before, like Ashley mentioned. And so we had to take it upon ourselves to really go out and find help for that, getting a product manufactured, reaching out to other people that have safety businesses or product-based businesses to, just kind of go down every rabbit hole we could to figure it out and make it work. With safety tools as well, especially pepper spray, there are different legal restrictions state by state, country by country. So we're only available in the US right now, and pepper spray is legal in all 50 states. But there are different shipping restrictions for whether or not you can ship pepper spray to places like New York and Massachusetts because of the laws there. So we didn't know all of that when we were first starting out with these ideas, and that was something we learned along the way. And so navigating that, we started a petition even to get the laws changed in New York, and we're working with the senator there.
Wow.
She is has already proposed a bill that would change the laws and get them to match the other regulations in the other states, just to kind of update the times there.
Wow.
I think to us too, it's, there's good days and bad days, and some challenges are harder than others, but always just persevering and trying to figure it out. It doesn't always even feel like a challenge per se. It's like, okay, this is just something else we have to do, and we're going to figure it out and get through it.
I love that mindset. I love that. So what are some of the best parts about your job? You have, obviously, like you said, challenges, but what's something maybe unexpected that you didn't think would be such a joy as part of this work? Or what's just something that you really enjoy about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of my favorite things that we get to do is really teaching people how to use the pepper spray with the practice sprays, because it is like a easy motion to slide it and to press down. But if you've never tried it before, it's like anything. Like the first time you drove your car, that's frightening. Now you don't really think
Yes.
about it too much, right? And so a lot of people haven't even, practiced that before. And so having people practice and helping them if they don't get it, because I'd say like 2 out of 10 people are fumbling around with it for over a minute trying to figure it out at first. And you think about that,
Okay.
about a real situation, and you're like, if you hadn't practiced before, every single second counts. Like you need to have that muscle memory ready to go just in case, because that's why we're doing what we're doing, right? Like ultimately, we hope no one ever has to use our products, use our tools. But if they are in a situation, we want them to know how to use the tools. We don't want it to be like the first time they're trying out the Sidekick device or the pepper spray. And something unexpected, but also I'd say rewarding, just hearing from people that have had to use the product. And we had an event at a Fleet Feet where we taught somebody, and over a year later, they were on a run and they had to use the product. And she sent us this message about how it ultimately, saved her life, and she doesn't know what would have happened if she hadn't had it. And it's like my favorite and my least favorite thing at the same time, because thinking about it brings me to tears, and thinking about her story, because that should have never happened. No one should have ever attacked anybody in any situation. But yeah, I think too, just the opportunity to come up with these different solutions, different products, and even go beyond products and see what we can do to make pepper spray and all safety tools more accessible, starting here in the US and hopefully eventually in other countries as well.
Yeah. And I think getting to be able to put an empowerment angle, a lot of safety companies that have been around for a really long time, they focus more on what we would call fear tactics, or, the really dark side to personal safety, which we don't ignore. We understand that what the stats are, and getting people to also realize that, personal safety is something serious that you have to think about. But it's really cool to be in person and doing these events and teaching people how to use the products, and their reaction. There are people that come up that say that they're nervous to spray it, or they've never tried it because they're really scared. And then getting to watch them do it, and they are laughing or smiling, which of course, like in a real situation, would you be doing that? Probably not. But in this moment, you're interacting with us, and what we're creating is to give you a positive moment to remember if you're ever in that situation, so you feel confident and ready, and not worried that not even being able to use the device that you have.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And you talked about the pink skeleton that you have. This is a random question. I'm just curious whose idea that was, because I think it's brilliant. And I'm just curious who came up with the genius idea for that.
Well, it started first with, I don't remember, it probably was Ashley's idea for us to just get a target of some sort. And it was, like we said, at first it was, we would spray each other at demos, or we had like a Freddy Krueger cutout. What happened with Pinky specifically is we were on our way to another event here in Austin at the University of Texas. And our Freddy Krueger that we had, he was cardboard and he was not looking very good. He was like falling over because he had been sprayed so many times. And it was Halloween, or it was October, so it was close to Halloween. So I'm like, I'm just going to go to Target and see if we can find something. And that was the very first Pinky that we ever found. Was
amazing.
Yes, and he's been the best. Safely team.
He travels well.
Yeah.
Yep.
He does a suitcase that we get to fold him up and stick him in. It's the perfect size.
Oh my gosh. I think that's just so brilliant. Wow. Okay, so let's talk about this new product launch that like literally just happened moments ago. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so this product launch is honestly one of the coolest things we've ever gotten to be a part of, because it's never existed before in personal safety. So this product, it's the SOS Sidekick by Invisaware and Safely. It combines physical defense with emergency technology that goes beyond contacting family and friends. So you can actually have 911, the police, arrive at your location with the click of a button, essentially. And this is something that's so important, because going back to every second matters and every second counts. If you are in a situation, let's say you're out on a run and you have your sidekick in one hand and you have your phone in the other hand, and something happens, now they're competing for each other, right? Like, you're going to have to fend someone off first, and then you're going to probably call for 911 after. That's typically how it goes. And so this, you can do everything at the same time with the click of a button on the Sidekick device, which is incredible.
Wow.
And the origin story of this product too, one of the Invisaware co-founders, Raja, actually also was at Every Woman's Marathon, so got her on board after meeting Catherine. But her and I met last March at a conference called South by here in Austin, Texas, and became fast friends, so much so that within 24 hours, we had decided to stay at an Airbnb together for a different conference we'd both be attending 2 weeks later in Las Vegas. And so she got to the Airbnb first, and I was getting in a few hours after, and she was unpacking, and she heard someone enter the Airbnb. Someone literally broke into the Airbnb, and she was there all alone.
Oh my gosh.
Her Invisaware, currently they make jewelry where you can double click, and her spray in the other hand, and went into the hallway and held the intruder at pepper spray point while trying to contact for help. And in that moment, luckily she ended up being okay, but she thought, why should I have to do both at once with two separate hands? It takes me longer. And when I started talking about this, and we're like, what if we combine our products? Can we make that happen? And so some might think, wow, two safety companies, wouldn't you guys be competitors? But absolutely not. Like, if we can help more people stay safe and work to combine our patented technology, we're going to do that, because it's so, so important. And that's what we've been working on for the past year. And today we finally launched it, and it's now live, and a lot of people are excited about it.
Wow. That's amazing. So again, another necessity invention, right? Which unfortunately, it's a reality that we're living in. And that's a whole other conversation for another podcast. But that's so great. So tell us where we can get this new product and also all the other Safely stuff.
Yes. So on the Safely website, it's livesafely.co. We'll have our pepper spray products, which includes our individual sprays as well that come in cases with a keychain. It'll have the Sidekick that is the original Safely Sidekick with pepper spray, flashlight, and alarm, a grip option, and a keychain and a spike. And then you can upgrade to have SOS with the SOS grip that has the Invisaware button on it too. For anybody watching, there's a little button on the device that now allows you to contact emergency help, like Ashley was talking about.
And we are available in a lot of running stores across the nation. So if any runners listening, we're in a lot of the Fleet Feets and Charm City and different things like that.
That's incredible. And I'm thinking too that yes, as runners, as female runners, this is important. But just, I think in other scenarios that where you're not running, like I'm thinking about my 17-year-old daughter who's going away to college and is going to be on her own. And for me, peace of mind is giving her something like this, making sure she knows how to use it and hoping that she never has to, right? So I'm sure you see that as well, right? You probably have talked to thousands of women that have stories or different scenarios where they can say, oh, I would love to have something like this, but I leave late for work and I'm walking to my car even, right? So I'm sure you've heard many stories like that.
Absolutely. Gas stations, all of the things. You never really can be too prepared, right? And something you want to have and hopefully you never use it, but you don't want to need it and not have it. So
exactly. I guess, like we said, this is an unfortunate reality that we live in. And I'm picturing a woman who has maybe encountered someone on her run or even just heard in the news, right? Because we hear it in the news all the time. Stories happen. And because of that, this woman has stopped running outside because she's afraid. What is something that you would say to this woman in this moment of fear that she has?
Yeah, I think that, well, one, she's not alone in feeling that way. That's something that I feel like so many women, we've talked to so many, as you mentioned, and it's unfortunately this universally relatable concept, whether it is running or your daughter or going to work or walking home alone at night or something. And so, she's not crazy for feeling that way. And obviously, that's never the victim's fault if something has happened. And if there are ways that you can help yourself feel more confident, whether that's carrying a safety tool, whether that's going for a run with a buddy, taking self-defense classes, or just learning more. Education is power, and you're allowed to take your power back and continue to do the things that you love and find ways to do them not only safely, but do them confidently too. And, this shouldn't be the world we live in. We always say that our company or companies like ours shouldn't even have to exist. And our ultimate goal would be that they don't have to, because the world is a safer place. And until we get there, then we're going to keep sharing ways that we can help, safety tips, teaching people how to use pepper spray, all the things.
Amazing. And I also want to mention that you have generously offered a discount code for our 261 Fearless community. So using the code FEARLESS at checkout gives listeners 10% off any order. And you're also donating 10% of that order to 261 Fearless. So that is incredibly generous, and we're so grateful. I'll make sure that I include that information in the show notes, as well as a link to the website. Where can people find you on socials if they want to see all your social content?
Yeah, you can find us at Safely Self-Defense across all social channels.
Ashley and Meagan, thank you so much for this conversation and for your incredible products and making us all feel more empowered to take control of our lives and our running. I'm so grateful for what you've created and the community that you're building around it. I'm so grateful that Ashley and Meagan joined me today for this fearless conversation. I'm really excited for both of them and the launch of their new product. Again, a reminder that they have generously offered our In Fearless Conversation listeners a 10% discount on any order if you use the discount code FEARLESS at checkout, and 10% will be donated to 261 Fearless every time it's used. So be sure to check them out online. I will make sure to link to their website in the show notes. I want to mention that they are in some fleet feets around the country. So if you're looking to get something in person and not online, that is also an option for you. The discount code won't work at the fleet feets, but it will work online. So just a heads up on that. That's all for today's episode. We'll see you again next week. Until then, stay fearless.